Europe, maybe even globally, we see the biggest shift of the energy system, I would say, ever seen. With the transformation to renewable energy sources, with the decarbonization, where demand of electricity will rise, with digitalization also the demand will rise. So that's a huge shift, and to keep the grid resilient and with that the society working, this is our passion.
We are talking today about resilient grid operations for transmission system operators in Europe. And we are hosted here by Swissgrid, and I'm happy to have here with me Mireia Roca Riu, as well as Marcel Lenzin from Swissgrid. Both of them will hopefully give us some insight into their coolest and latest technology, how they are making sure that the grids stay resilient and that at least in Switzerland the electrons are flowing without any interruption. When we're talking about making grids resilient, we talk about today mainly about innovation. One part of the innovation was driven by solving a problem. What kind of problem did you wanted to solve by using drones?
So we wanted to change how do we inspect today. So the problem was we were using foot patrols and helicopters to inspect our networks, and drones are a complement to these for the inspections. So we can take another view to our assets and get tons of data, very detailed data that can help us with the inspection process.
What kind of other view did you get instead of using helicopters then?
So we can really get a close-up from any angle that we're interested, and that means depending on the part of the pylon that we're talking of the overhead line, the drones allow us to go really close and get a closed-up inspection view.
And was it difficult to solve? Was it difficult to introduce that? Maybe Marcel?
Well, I think we are on a journey since several years, more than 5 years as I can remember. And I think the challenge we had is, of course, we knew the drones are coming more and more and this technology is evolving faster and faster. So one of the tasks we had is also to see for what use case the drones are ready yet and what use cases maybe are more for the future, where we can use drones in future. I think we will talk more about that later on, but if you compare it with helicopter, of course, with helicopters you can fly a long distance. With drones, especially at the beginning, this was not possible because you had to see and observe the drones.
It was a limited time in the air.
Limited time, yes. Yeah. But overall, as Mireia already explained, for us, of course, it's very important to understand the condition of the network and also to see where do we have to take action to avoid any disturbance to keep the grid reliable.
Yeah. Talking about innovation and talking about applying the latest technology, was it a kind of on-purpose thing, or was it a kind of rather accidental thing happening here?
We had like a small set of assets that needed detail inspection, so we could kind of test in a small environment for these specific assets that had the new, let's say, right? And then I think after the successful inspection, then we said that's something we can use for a broader...
So in a, how do you say, a cooler notion said it was a proof of concept, and then you started to scale it a little bit up.
Yeah, that's also some of example that we can set up in Swissgrid, right? The drones project help us this inspection. First, we do a small proof of concept and then see how we can scale up.
Is this way, has this way then being incorporated in the organization now? And is this a way you think about innovation today based on that?
Yeah, definitely. It helps us to bring this culture of innovation into the organization. Because with drones, you also have these quick wins. You see things are working, people see a benefit of it, and with this also ideas come on maybe further use cases. So it helps also on a cultural change, which is very important, I believe, for innovation. And I think with drones also what you see is everybody is talking about drones, and the possibility of drones is very wide. But you also have to find use cases. What exactly do you want to achieve, or what use case you want to fulfill with a drone?
That's a good point, Marcel, when you would phrase it in one sentence now, the value you get out of it. What would be the sentence?
I think the biggest advantage we see is we can collect good and a lot of data on the condition of our assets. That's what drones helps us to do that in an efficient, structured way.
From the previous question, I think it changed the mindset of innovation team a lot, right? At the beginning, when I joined, we were talking about small use case that really seemed future-oriented, very far-futured, and then we could do tests and real life that would help the organization.
How do you turn then data into actionable maintenance decisions?
So drones are only the first step. Right? They collect this large amount of data that then we need to interpret. So in a fully automated world, the machines would be telling what's in these images and already put in place the repairman or the maintenance needs. But for now, what we have is a human in the loop, right? The humans need to analyze this data also, or check and validate if the suggested defaults are what interest us. And then based on that, they decide which is the measure needed for repair or maintenance.
What surprised you most when using autonomous drones?
I think the fast pace of the field itself, right? It goes very short between a new feature or a new drone is on the market until it's integrated in the daily operations, right? Let's say one example would be 3D models, right? Once you have 3D models, how fast can you do automatic route design, let's say, and that was kind of tested, and in a few months we would be using it, let's say, right?
Which risks would you argue are becoming smaller when you are applying these kind of innovation, this drone inspection of the grid, I would name it?
I think it helps us to have good data on the condition of the assets. As Mireia explained before, traditionally you have foot patrols that are different people. You don't have a history. Maybe they see some damages, but you don't have real data to understand when this occurred. Was it already there 5 years ago, 1 year ago? Is it new? Is it getting worse? So to get this kind of data in a structured, efficient way, that's something where we see big benefit of drones. And also, if you go traditionally, I mean, we are working on huge heights, 50, 100 meters height. So traditionally, people had to go up there and to inspect something, or you use the binocular. Today, with the drone, you just go there, you get high-resolution pictures. So that's a huge advantage also from a safe, not just efficiency, but also safety perspective.
For the people, for the employees.
And you do it live. I mean, you don't have to switch off a line, which is also very important for the resilience of the grid. Every time you have to take out of service a line, of course, you somehow...
It's obvious.
It's obvious.
It's obvious. You don't need to take it out of operations.
Yes.
And the data are used then from your department, Marcel, or is this something the whole organization is profiting from these data?
The whole organization is profiting from this data. Of course, my department is a key user of the data as we make the decision on retrofit projects in future. And of course, we also have a lot of suppliers which help us also to work on this data. It's not everything just done by ourselves. We also rely on experts
that's outside the company. Yep, please.
I think that's an interesting point, because I think the large quantity of pictures were taken with one purpose, which was improve inspections, let's say, right? But then a bright community within grid, and otherwise wanted access to these pictures to do different planning projects, right? So
you created an ecosystem which is leaving the boundaries of the company itself, isn't it? Would that be a fair description?
Yeah.
And the ecosystem is then partly with universities, but also with subcontractors, or?
So we work together with other TSOs on collecting data to train models, let's say, right? So this is an initiative where Swissgrid joined at the beginning, and then other TSOs are also on the table, so we can share pictures from assets, but not only from assets, particularly from the defects of these assets, so we can train better models.
And they are using that throughout Europe nowadays, obviously. Yeah, that's cool. Cool story, I have to say. Well, talking about another topic which might be related to it, and I'm wondering about your point of view, sustainability. Beside of predictive maintenance and resilience, sustainability is a big word. I mean, at the end of the day, we are moving to electrons in Europe also because of sustainability topics. Would you see here also the ingredients of sustainability?
Of course, I mean, especially if you think about the work you do today with helicopters, which you can already today and in future probably even more, also use drones. So the carbon footprint of a drone versus a helicopter, for sure, it's obvious, yes.
And sustainability also in the sense of, I would argue that you have a controlled manner of taking out old equipment and replacing it with new equipment, or is that a little bit too far-reaching then?
There's definitely new models in the market that promise to do some of this heavy lifting, right? I think they're probably one step behind what we were talking about inspection, but this will definitely come, and it also offers a lot of flexibility because putting on a use a drone is not as complex as putting on a use a helicopter, let's say, right? So there might be some use case where it's a clear win.
Or if you can extend the lifetime of hardware equipment, of course, this would also pay into sustainability by knowing the condition more precisely.
So replacement by condition instead of replacement by well-defined time frames.
That's also one of the aims, yes.
That's, of course, a good point. Lessons learned and future outlook. What is on your agenda, Marcel? What do you see as next steps? I mean, we have already heard you are using European-wide the insights. Are there any other lessons learned?
I mean, lessons learned, I think it's important to go in a step-by-step approach. Don't try to solve everything in one. Be sure about what's your use case. Go for use cases where you can also add value fastly. That helps the organization to see the benefit. I think that are important use cases, and be aware you're on a journey. It's not just a one-off, but it's a journey to use and benefit from this technology time by time.
What is your point of view?
I think it's setting the journey to something that you want to use the technology, right? It's not that we decided for drones because they are a cool tool. They indeed are, but we had a purpose, right? First, change the inspection. And I think more and more cases will come up, so we can then set. And as I said before, this is also an example on how innovation can succeed in integrating into our processes.
It's a good keyword, how innovation can happen. You mentioned in that sense, I would assume it's also a lesson learned how to do innovation within your company, together with the ecosystem, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely was a big process, let's say, right? I think we started in a small group where we were only talking within us and external partners, and then it was a group collaboration together with many of colleagues from Grid, where they kind of also tempted their needs, and they also improved the processes itself by collating information about damages that they wouldn't even think were possible to see from the floor.
I think this is very important, the link between the people knowing technology and what's available on the market, and the business who is in the daily work has its challenges, and to find these win-win situations and this connection, the common understanding, I think that's really key.
Especially from going from this POC concept, right? Let's say,
yes,
to the scalability solution, right?
Yes.
Let's say,
yes,
that's
definitely.
clear.
Yeah. So you also have had a learning curve in the organization, I assume, and now, Marcel, when we talk about boards, decision boards, for example, executive boards or boards of directors, usually they are rather risk agnostic, especially in our industry. Did they also change their point of view, or the project changed the point of view?
Yeah, definitely. As you said, I mean, of course, the resilience is key for us. We have to have electrons need to fly, and we cannot do any experiments which jeopardizes that. But of course, seeing the advantage of new technology, that also helps. You also know the boards, they want to have it faster than possible, so you also have to manage the expectation. Yeah, that's also what I meant with use cases, to really see what use case is possible, because drones is such a wide area, and you can think of so many applications of drones in our businesses, but to really find the use cases where you get a benefit and also technology is ready to do so.
So many thanks for your time so far. To wrap up the discussion here, I mean, anything to add from your side, Mireia?
I think it's just a very fun field to work on. So I would like to continue and bring innovation into the company.
I think continue is the key word. The journey goes on. I think we are not at the end of what the potential we have with drones, especially the possibility to fly long distance on this beyond visual line of sight. I think that will open up more use cases. For example, we talk about first responder, where we have any issue in the grid. You know, we operate the grid through the Alps, sometimes in wintertime. You cannot just go there. So I think there we see even more potential of drone application. And same as Mireia, I'm also looking forward to that.
Very good. Mireia, Marcel, many thanks for your time.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.